familiar with this. Can you all hear? Oh, good morning again. Yeah, so Ben and Ted are not here today, and Ben told me, well, the centers is familiar with you already since you come here for a number of times and been a resident here, so you can just introduce yourself. Feel comfortable. So I don't know where to start, but since some of you are new who haven't get to know me yet, I just have a brief introduction. My name is Pearl. People go by Sister Pearl because I'm a nun, and kind of we adopt kind of Catholic nun, like calling sister, because we don't know what is the proper way of English calling a bhikkhuni, which is a Buddhism term, bhikkhuni, and we can just call Sister Pearl to make it easier connected when we are interacting with each other. And my Vietnamese Dharma name when I was ordained more than 6 years ago was Viên Thanh Châu, which also means a complete pure pearl. So that's why I just give pearl. It's work for both. And it's I think like in Buddhism, for me, for my practice in Buddhism, we talk a lot about the sutra Buddha taught about the intranet of different pearls. So every one of you have a pearl inside as a Buddha nature, as an ability to awaken and become a Buddha. So every one of us has a pearl inside. And I just remember my own pearl, reflecting on everyone's own pearl when I interact. And it's like a mirroring. I'm reflecting your pearl. I see your Buddha potential inside you, your Buddha beauty and virtues. And so just that part I want to share with you. Just remember, we're sitting here today, we are all Buddhas. We are future Buddhas, but we have the seed of that. And we are reflecting each other right now in this room with the intranet of pearls. Yeah. So I ordained in 2019 at the headquarter monastery in San Diego called Dai Dang. And I was ordained under a Buddhist nun, and she is one of the great prominent nun teacher in Vietnam. She's the abbot at the Vinh Chieu Monastery in South Vietnam, which housed 180 nuns there. And in our lineage, we have monks monasteries and nuns monasteries separately, so that we can focus on their practice. And nuns have the same the same practice potential rights as monks, kind of running parallel as monks in the monastery. And after my ordination, I went back to Vietnam right away to stay with my teacher in that monastery for 4 months, just to get into the monastic practice and what it was like. And then I was in the middle of my Buddhist chaplaincy training from Upaya. So I came back, and my teacher allowed me to come back to finish that program. So I stayed residency at Upaya while finishing my chaplaincy program there for 2 years during COVID. Yeah, and then I went to Atlanta to finish to do my CPE internship and residency for another 2 years in Atlanta at Emory University. And just recently, after I finished with that program, I was invited by my teacher's friends from the main monastery in San Diego where I was ordained. I was invited to help out with the Zaktam Monastery in Egan, where some of you had a chance to come for our Lunar New Year celebration, which I really appreciate your presence. Yeah, so I invite to come and help out to establish the place again since it was left abandoned during the COVID. So now just start, hopefully, my plan is to have that open for inviting friends to come over for practice together in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So before I become a nun, I also work at Mayo Clinic as a PA in the palliative and oncology. And that 10 years really helped me solidify my commitment to monastic practice because I really felt the impermanence of life, the life and death, and the beauty remained within all the suffering. There is beauty of human connections, of human compassion, love, and care, as well as the resilience in people trying to weather through the different obstacles in life. And so I really cherish those years, and it's actually forming my initial solid foundation practice and my commitment. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah, so I'm invited to do the talk here today, and since I get to know the Minnesota Zen Center and get to know our friends, we share similar practice, but there are some nuances, like differences, that distinguish differences. And many friends ask me, what are the differences? What are the similarity? With a lot of curiosity. And so my goal today is to share with you that. But not just knowledge, not just fact. It's more about how do we see differences and similarity to bring about our own individual practice for each one of you. So I would like to see how many of you here is first time here ever, first time to the Zen Center. Okay, one or two, okay. And how many of you are new beginning to Soto Zen practice? Okay, a few, okay, that's great. And the rest already familiar with Soto Zen. How many of you already have heard about Vietnamese bamboo forest Zen practice? Raise your hand. Okay, very good. All right. So a number of you also asked me if I'm related to the Plum Village tradition, kind of seeing my appearance, my brown robe, and maybe my style sometimes has that flavor as well. I think I have some connection because reading Thich Nhat Hanh book and learning about his life greatly influenced me initially for me to walk this path. But then my inclination and karma, strong connection with our bamboo forest Zen tradition is much more maybe lifetime. So I'm more in that. But I still hold some of the Plum Village practice for my own individual personal practice. I want to share with you a picture. This is my Zen master, my great grandmaster, Thích Thanh Từ, and this is Thich Nhat Hanh from the Plum Village. So they are very good friends, like a Dharma brothers. And during the Vietnam War, the French Indochina, and then the Vietnam War, 1960, 1970s, before Thich Nhat Hanh was came outside of the country. What you call that? He became exile. Yes. When before that, he and my grandmaster practiced together in a very beautiful rolling hills of a little bit up north central, like south central of Vietnam. And Thich Nhat Hanh from Plum Village, he really respect my grandmaster, and he built a hut for my grandmaster to purely practicing Zen meditation. And he invited my grandmaster to teach at the university that he created in Vietnam for a number of years. And when he left Vietnam, Master Thich Nhat Hanh still has a strong connection with my grandmaster. They write letters back and forth and sharing their practice and encourage each other to lead, leading monastic practice, preserving the true Zen. So Zen Master Thích Nhất Hạnh, he even gave my grandmaster the book about different Zen master in the past, so that he could do more research and go deeper into pure Zen practice. And my grandmaster stayed in Vietnam, focusing in the Zen in Vietnam, which it wasn't happen at the time. A lot of Vietnamese Buddhism practice in that earlier time was more pure, like a Pure Land practice, chanting Amitabha, kind of thinking about practicing, waiting for the Pure Land salvation. But my Zen master, he saw the importance of Zen practice that go back original from the Buddha to find inner enlightenment, inner awakening, instead of praying outside, instead of devotional or superstitious practice. So he trying to focus on that and educate people on this is the form of more original awakening from the Buddha teaching. Where Zen Master Thích Nhất Hạnh, he's more outside of the country, trying to establish Zen practice in France and then come to United States. So they are kind of parallel with each other in their developing of Zen. A different flavor. In my lineage is more like strict, direct, kind of more, I don't know, like strong, kind of like that. But more in Thích Nhất Hạnh is more softer. You can see gentle, softer, more poetic. So it's very, very fun to see that. And when the two communities, monastic communities get together, we have that balance with softness and strong. Yeah. So going back to Soto Zen, I did some research myself, and from my practice, because I stayed at Upaya Zen Center for 2 years, that was my initial, almost like my cradle of Zen practice, is more Soto Zen, incorporate into my own lineage. So I just want to share with you a picture of, this is where I was ordained at the main monastery, the headquarters in San Diego, with the structure of like a classic traditional Vietnamese temple. With the brick roof. And they are finishing up hopefully today, this year, to finish all the building construction. And this is where our Zen master Lane, I put his mark down. This is the place where we're going to establish this as the headquarters of all Vietnamese bamboo forest Zen in the United States. Yeah. So we share so many similarities, and this is more of my own experience, my own research. So I may miss here and there because people experience is different between the two traditions. So do not take my words for 100% truth. Same as the Buddha, right? The Buddha said, do not take his words until you practice it and you realize it for yourself. So take it lightly, but enjoy it. So we both share the foundation of Mahayana Zen. So in Japanese, it will be Zen. In Chinese, with Chan. In Vietnamese, it's Thien. That's why we call Thien Tông, Thien. Thien. And these are the similarities, the root, origin, and the culture. So interestingly, I found that both Zen traditions trace their origins. We all hold the Bodhidharma Zen lineage, which means Bodhidharma from India to China, and then Bodhidharma transmit down to Heike, and then down to Senken is the third patriarch, and down to Huineng, the sixth patriarch, and down all the way down. So we share that same lineage. And when we chant, we remember chanting those Zen ancestors similarly. So the Zen lineage of Bodhidharma is a direct transmission outside the scripture. It means that you're not like just based on words or things to realize, but you have to have a direct mind-to-mind transmission. You don't need words. It's like going back to the Buddha time at the vulture peak. He was like sitting up here, and everyone was waiting for him to give a lecture, a Dharma talk, and he just quiet and smile. He hold up a lotus flower. That's when Zen start. He'll hold up a lotus flower, and he just, silent. And one of his senior teacher, Mahakabashabi, he saw the flower, he saw the Buddha, and he recognized the mind to mind, what Buddha mean to say. It's just that pure awareness, that recognition with no thoughts, no ego, is selfless, is emptiness. And Mahakabashabi smiled back. And Buddha knew exactly that this is the student that got my transmission of what I want to say. That there's no need to say word, because when you say it, people perception, taking it will be different. It's not pure anymore. So that's when our first transmission from the Buddha to the Mahakabashabi. And then down to Ananda, or the ancestor down, is when the Buddha enlightened, the Buddha mind see the Buddha mind and recognize each other. Yeah. I know you have Buddha nature in you, but I cannot see your Buddha mind right now. We are all practicing. Hopefully that will be one day, right? Yeah. So this lineage is coming from that, and we recognize our true nature, which is our ability to awaken to become Buddha. So in Soto Zen, actually, because Dogen, everyone heard Dogen, he's the first patriarch of the Soto Zen in Japan. He, at the time, Japan was also have various satoric practice, superstitions, or devotional practice, and it's complex. And Dogen was not satisfied with those practices. He couldn't find the real awakening realization in those practices. So he set out to make a trip to Japan to find the teacher of those Zen lineage. He set out to China, and he met his teacher, and he practiced several years, and he brought Zen practice, the pure Zen practice, back to Japan. And that's when Soto Zen in Japan flourished. So that was in the 13th century. And Soto Zen became the largest sect of Zen practice in Japan. Now in Chuklam, we call Chuklam, which is bamboo forest. And the Chuklam name means that our king, Vietnamese king, Trần Nhân Tông, he was a king, and he left his kingdom, his throne, to his younger son, and he became an ascetic. He went into the Chuklam bamboo forest in the mountain up north of Vietnam, and he practiced meditation and become enlightened after 5 years of practicing there. And so that's why it's called bamboo forest, Chuklam Zen lineage, because of that history. Yeah, so that was also the 13th century. So it's really interesting how both came from the 13th century time. Yeah. However, after the 15th century, it was very flourish, and then it died off because the new kingdom arise, and they are afraid of the old kingdom of strong Buddhism practice. So they try to abolish that practice and bring more Confucianism influenced by China and Taoism from China. So the kingdom in the 15th century more prominently Confucianism and Taoism influence, and Vietnamese Chuklam bamboo forest and will no longer exist. It's all were polished. But then there's secret hidden practitioners still practicing in the deep mountains. That there's some research showing some records, but we don't have the full historical record yet. So in the 20th century, recently in 1960, like I shared with you about, our Grandmaster Thích Thanh Từ, he revived the Vietnamese Zen, Trúc Lâm Zen. He went back to his story and he practiced himself of meditation. And then he revived the Zen practice again in Vietnam. So now it's become the biggest Zen sect in Vietnam right now. And when he revived the Zen practice, Trúc Lâm in Vietnam, he actually taught people very strict, like his heart is pouring out and tell people, please do not believe in superstition. It's more about coming to your own inner self, reflection, contemplation, looking in your own mind. Meditation is the main key practice. And do not do prayers or superstitions or just chanting all day long without what you know, without knowing what you chant. Because people feel that, if they chant certain sutra and they finish how many hours of praying or rolling the beads, then they get merits and that will help them, go on to the Pure Land next life. That's how people just that believe, if I chant hard enough, if I pray hard enough. But my grandmaster, after he found enlightened in his own meditation practice and gone back to the previous bamboo forest Zen tradition, he tell people not to do that. And he convert many people to go to pure Zen practice and see their own Buddha nature. And it was a success. So for now, in Vietnam, we have many monasteries, more than 20 monasteries that are big size. And then also in America, more than 10 monasteries, and we have thousands of monks and nuns. It's interesting that I noticed that both traditions, when reviving or when bringing pure Zen practice,
Really?
is also
What kind is it?
rejecting earlier Buddhist practice
called
like I shared about
the brain is
ritual,
the legs
superstition, belief, and devotion. So the core philosophy both emphasize on non-duality. That is the non-duality of existence. So kind of thinking beyond conceptual thinking of binary judgment, no good or bad, right or wrong, and with the middle path to find the ultimate peace. And both lineage have a strong belief that everyone possesses inherent Buddha nature. And in Soto, it's called Kensho, right? Inherent Buddha nature, when you see directly in your mind that you have that. And in Vietnamese, it's called Kiến Tánh. Yeah. The meditation is core in both practices. We rely heavily in sitting meditation. So if you're here for a session, we sit 7-8 hours a day, right? And we break into 1 hour sitting or 45 minutes sitting or 30 minutes sitting, and then we have walking kihin. In our Trúc Lâm tradition, we also do many hours of meditation when we have a retreat. But every day in monastic, we do 2 hours in the morning without a break, without walking. And then 1.5 hour in the evening before bedtime. That's just a daily practice for monastic. And then in some monastery, they also do 1 hour in the afternoon, midday as well, depending on how deep they want to go. But we, in Trúc Lâm tradition, we put a strong emphasis on supporting the person solitary meditation practice. So every year, each monastic in the Zen monastery have the chance to sign up and to do own solitary retreat in its own protected section away from the main monastery hall. So they designate a specific section within the monastery, but it's no one go there unless you have the permission to go to support those who practice in there. And for example, my monastery, Vinh Chiu, we have 10 huts, a small 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 room where you have small restrooms and just one room to practice meditation solitarily and no interaction with the outside world. And you are paired with another practitioner brother, like sister, and they are the one who bring you food, morning, breakfast and lunch, no dinner. So bring you food, and if you have, and then they put outside of your hut, and if you have anything you want to communicate differently, you write a note and you leave that. So there's no communication. And the practice is purely sitting Zen meditation of up to 10 hours a day, divide into shorter section, and then chanting, repentance practice, twice a day repentance, because you want to clear up, purifying your mind and clear up the karma. And then you can do some walking meditation around the hut and avoid eye contact, avoid connecting to the next hut, nearby. Yeah, so it's a encouragement for everyone to do this every year. And we can start with 2 weeks, then 4 weeks, then 20, so 2 weeks, 4 weeks, then 49 days, then 3 months, then 6 months. So you can advance every year, but the 49 days, you stay 49 days for several years. And then after that, you can do 3 months for several years. And if really feel that your teacher really feel like, oh, you will benefit from a longer retreat, then you can do 6 months. And previously, when we did not have many monastic, like we have lesser number, during my Zen master active years of teaching, he would allow his student to do 1 full year solitary retreat, and that's when Venerable Thungbat did 1 full year. Yeah. So my Zen master, I want to share with you a little bit history of him, because he's special like Dogen. And knowing about him also help us reflect on our inner practice as well. As a young child, a young boy, he was, when he went with his uncle up to the mountain to have a day of remember, like a ceremony of remembering his past uncle death. When he hear the bell ringing far distant from the temple in the mountains, he actually, at age 9 years old, he composed a poem in reflection with hearing the bell. And this is the poem. Oh, how joyful the serenity of the mountain, a peaceful place for everyone, awakened by the sounds from the wooden fish, heard the wall of life echo in the bell tone. So when he heard that bell and the wooden fish, bong, 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 with people chanting, his heart like felt compassion for the suffering of people. And the bell remind him that awakening can be possible. That's when he's only 9 years old, and he's composed this beautiful poem in Vietnamese. Yeah, and so he became a monk later in his years, his early 20s, and most of he was first Pure Land practice, and he couldn't find an answer to freedom, right? True freedom from the internal mind afflictions. So he searched, and he said, well, all the scriptures say Buddha meditate, and Buddha taught his student meditate. How come Pure Land taught just praying? Like his question. And so he asked his teacher, can I go live and learn Zen meditation? And his teacher allowed him to do so, but there's no Zen master in Vietnam at the time who could taught him. So he decided to do it his own. So he went up to the mountains, established his own hut, and said that I'm going to sit here to practice meditation based on the teaching from the sutras. And then teaching from the earlier Zen master. So he collect all the different sutras that related to Zen, and he also collect all the teaching from previous Zen master of Vietnam back then. He studied them all. He's very smart. He studied them all, and he practiced meditation based on the instruction. And when he practiced, he saw, oh, that's correct. What they taught was correct. And my experience of Zen practice kind of shining upon the meaning of the sutras. And then the sutra helped me stay in line with my practice. That's how he kind of hold both together. And that's our lineage have this is a parallel of meditation and wisdom cultivation from sutra study. So we hold that both parallel because of from him. And so some people say, well, he doesn't have a direct transmission from the earlier Dharma hera, right? Like direct transmission from the teacher, the master to the student. So is this true Zen? Is it a true form of Zen? People ask that if it doesn't have a direct transmission. And he claimed that true Zen realize true mind. If you realize, true mind, if you realize your own Buddha nature, sometimes the transmission is, from all these masters through the sutra, not necessary from recognition from one master to a student. And if the Buddha mind meet the Buddha mind, that's true Zen. Yes. So when he went in a hut after two years of deep practice, solitary retreat, he found enlightenment. And he said, it's time now to go open the door and to accept students. So he accepted the first 10 students into his class, and these are selected students from his university earlier. Yes, and he told them, just bring your ropes, your 3 ropes, just bring yourself, don't bring any external books, and trust me of my method, and just sitting practice, sitting meditation. And this is his experimental with these 10 students. And yet it all successful. They all got what he wanted to teach them. And so he became popular since then, and his school get bigger and bigger, later attracting hundreds and then thousands of students. And now it's thousands of students in the countries and outside of the country, monastic students, and many, I don't know how to count, lay practitioners following the path. But because in the US, in the West, we are just new, it just came in 1990s. And so not many people know about this Zen lineage because only within 20 years or so in the United States, and most of it in Vietnamese. It haven't been translated into English yet. So these are not known by people. Whereas the Plum Village traditions are well rooted in the West and well known to Western friends. So the only thing that I could find, just a few books in English. This is our ceremony chanting translation of English. And then this book, Vietnamese Zen in the late 20th century, this is our pillow, bed, head, every one of us as monastic, we should know this book very well. So that's why it translates into English. And then this is a particular PhD research thesis work by my friend. So this is the only book that more direct study and research of our lineage. And she went to Vietnam and went to different monasteries and interview people and get exact historical records. So she wrote this book just recently, and it's been in most of the library school, university library in America. It's copyright 2021. Yeah. So this is very rich work. So me and her, we are trying to translate back to Vietnamese because she wrote in English, and we want to do it in Vietnamese so that Vietnamese people can have access to such a deep research work about lineage, which we did not have that kind of methodological research. We more from master teaching us, we know only from that, but this is a methodological research from her. Yeah. So just returning to meditation, we talk about meditation is core practice for both traditions, but also integration, our practice into daily life is also core for both practice, for both traditions. From cooking, working, from cleaning, from eating, we all emphasis on one-pointed mindfulness, just focus on that and not distracted by multitask or other things. So that to bring that focal, that concentration, undivided attention to every action. And that's, you see in Soto Zen, we see very prominent here when we have work practice. Or how can we bring that practice into our work at our job, at our office, or at our interaction relationship with others? How do we bring the practice of keeping, precepts, keeping ethical guidelines, and keeping our place clean and neat, and purify our mind? There's a difference between monastics and lay practice. So both traditions really encourage both monastic and lay practice, with an emphasis on interconnectedness of spiritual cultivation and active engagement in society. So we discipline communal living, adhering to precepts, and regular engagement with ritual, chanting together, doing things together. And each tradition features hierarchical structures with the abbots, and then with vice abbots, senior monks, novice, to ensure the transmission of the teaching is adequate and maintain the discipline. However, the Soto Zen monastery in Japan are very highly structured, with formal roles and strict observance of rituals and schedules, often defined by kind of centuries-old protocols. Whereas in Chuklam monastery is exhibit greater flexibility, blending Zen with other Buddhist practice, and adapting monastic routines to local custom and national identity. So it's more flexible. We want harmony. I think the harmony is the key in our tradition. Because of one harmony, we try to adapt to local a little bit, keep our essence, but a little bit ease and not too formal rigid. Yeah. So in addition, Soto Zen, Japanese Soto Zen continue the priesthood. So instead of a peer, back then the Buddha and his student is like the monk have to observe 250 rules, and monks have to observe 348 rules. And these rules have main rules and little sub main rules. And these sub-main rules, like 100 of them, are more about manners, about how to show up yourself, how to present yourself, and avoid making a bad name of Buddhism. So Japanese Zen at the time, these like deep monastic practice was abolished by the king during the time revolution in Japan, and so monks and nuns were asked to become lay people and not stay in monastery. And so since then, our Japanese Soto Zen go into the priesthood, more like can maintain, you can have family, you can do some work, but you try to maintain your essence of practice secretly. That's why we wear these things, so that we practice secretly, and when the government office come, or we hide it inside. That was the idea back then, the history. And that kind of continue now. So Japanese Soto Zen, we have our friends here who are in their priesthood practice and training, can still have family, can still have children, can still hold a job, but commit 100% to the Zen practice of awakening to the true Buddha nature. Whereas in our Zen lineage, we don't have the priesthood, but we have the monastic bhikkhu as monks and bhikkhuni nuns, kind of the same as original Buddhist guideline for his students. And we expect to maintain a celibacy life and commit 100% to the practice and the propagation of the Dharma. So that is the only difference between monastic of the two traditions. And then in as a lay practitioner, I think both support lay practitioner in similar way. And some lay practitioner are very renowned. For example, in our lineage, the history was that when King Tong, who left the throne and went to the forest mountain to practice and enlighten, before he did that, he was a king and he maintained a very good practice, so lay practice. Deep awakening already then, but not full awakening. And then he came to his uncle, who was like the great general of the court at the time. And he asked his uncle is a very highly revered lay practitioner. Everyone come to his uncle for advice and practice. So he asked his uncle, what is the essence of Zen? And his uncle said, eliminating oneself is one primary duty. Illuminating oneself is one primary duty. And that is the essence of Zen. So it's very similar to Soto Zen in a way. Illuminating oneself is shikantaza, we just sit, and we don't have an object of meditation. So we sit facing the wall, that's Soto Zen. And we say, oh, your mind is illuminating. You don't have to wait until you reach enlightenment. Your Buddha nature right now is that awareness. It's a pure general awareness of everything. And you already enlightened. You sit, you're already a Buddha at the time of your sitting, when you don't think about anything else. And so that's a self-illumination. So in our practice is focused strongly on that, but there's some key differences, nuances on the technique. And the technique would be, in the Soto Zen, it's more shikantaza, sitting only. And when we start that, based on our breath, to help us stabilize, its breath is a foundation. In our practice, we have step of the breath work. And so first, when we begin, we do breath. After posture and everything, we do breath counting. So breathe in and out, count 1. Breathe in and out, count 2, until we get to 10. And then we repeat this cycle until we're not distracted. We count without losing. After we very good at this process, then we can do breath observation. Just observing the breath come in and out, and that's it. That is our object, observing the breath come in and out. And while observing like that, we contemplate on the impermanence of life. Breath come and out, things always change and flow. So observing that impermanence of life. And then after we're very good with this step, then we let go of the breath. And when our mind is calm, then we see more clearly our illusions. So whatever thoughts come, feelings, thoughts, emotions, we are taught that those are all illusion. They're not true. They doesn't have a self-inherent nature. Because if you see our thoughts comes and goes, we can be thinking this and then next time thinking that. So it's not true. Feeling is the same. Emotion is the same. And so the main practice in our lineage is that do not attach to illusions or false thoughts. We say false thoughts. And particularly go deeper is our sixth sense. Ears, eyes, nose, body, tongue, and mind. So our sixth sense, so whatever come in contact of our sixth sense, we don't attach, we don't follow that. And so the main teaching in our practice is that we are the owner, the host inside this house. And the sixth sense are 6 windows. And people are 6 doors. And the senses come, smell, taste, touch. They come through these 6 doors like guests or like robbery. Like distinguish, the owner versus the robbery, or the guest versus the host. So you can call whatever it is. So the guests distract us. They come and they can take our attention away. We don't want that. So we want to stay with our host. And then the robbery can take our peace away. So we want to stay with our owner to maintain stability, tranquility, and peace inside. So it's a very like a constant reminder that seeing, hearing, smelling, you don't follow those. Whatever come thoughts, even in the mind thoughts, these are more like clouds passing by, and you don't attach to it. You cannot grasp it. You cannot make a different story, different shape out of it. You don't imagine differently. You just see it is as it is. See clouds as clouds. See books as books, water as water. Like you see things as they are. But you have to shine the light onto it. This is called shining light. This step is similar to Soto Zen as shining the light into whatever you see, which means you're aware. You're just pure awareness, that's all. And you don't add anything, no extra commentaries, nothing, just pure aware of whatever that is coming to you. And that's it. So when you see it, you shine the light onto it, it's been recognized, it's been observed, it will naturally dissipate it. You don't have to suppress the thoughts or feeling. You don't have to follow or make it different. So that is the key in our practice, is illuminating all of that. Yeah, that's the inner illumination. And then when you see all of those thoughts, like it's called knowingness. Like you know that is the thought. You know you're not feeling well. You know you're feeling angry. Stop. That's all. Or for example, seeing this book, I know that this book color, blue or green or have a letter black. But I don't say, oh, this is a really nice cover. I don't add my opinion to it. So no good or bad, no beautiful or ugly, no dirty or clean. Don't add opinion to it. Just seeing it is what it is, and that's it. Yeah. So when you do that practice regularly, then whatever comes, it will slowly dissipate and left a more of a clear, peaceful, tranquil state. And that knowing awareness with that reflection of mind, tranquil, clear state is a Buddha nature. And so the next step is recognizing that. Recognizing our Buddha nature is that state. Recognizing that our Buddha nature is that awareness that's always there. But if we distracted by other things, then we're not aware of that awareness. So you have to sit, you have to practice in order to feel this. But the primary first is using the breath as an object to help us calm down our body and mind first. Then we're able to see more our illusion thoughts clearly and not to attach. And then final stage is to be one, realizing our Buddha nature and be one with it. Yeah. So in Soto Zen, there is a saying that casting off body and mind. Casting off body and mind, like don't worry about your body and mind, whatever it is. Like don't worry about, don't attach to it. Just pure aware. So I'm looking at my time. Thank you for pointing. I have 5 minutes left. So the sacred text and sutra teaching, I want to point this out. When we chant similarly. The literature, when we chant the 4 great vows, the 3 refuge, the Heart Sutra, and dedication of merits. So that's shared both similar. But in our tradition, we chant the Heart Sutra many times. After sitting meditation, after meal, repentance. So we chant about at least 4 or 5 times a day in our monastic practice. The Heart Sutra is a key. And our Zen master encourage us to learn all the sutra, but don't have to chant them or memorize them daily. Just the Heart Sutra is enough. Yeah. And then we have a menu of Zen written by our first patriarch Zen master, the king. We have that menu of Zen, kind of similar like Dogen, teaching of Zen. And then now our grandmaster, he compiled many of his teaching into this whole lots of books. So they are put together his teachings. He is 102 years old right now in Vietnam. And he has stroke, so he cannot talk. But they're collecting all of his teachings and trying to put it into a manual for practice. And then both of our tradition have Mahayana Sutra, like the Platform Sutra of the Six Patriarchs, the Lotus Sutra, the Sargana Sutra, the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. So these are key sutras that share between both traditions. Some of the one thing is I think to point out is that Soto Zen, it feels like it's very pure from master to student, right? That lineage directly down, that's Soto Zen. Vietnamese Zen is a syncretism, like a combination of three different lineages of Zen back in the 13th century when the king became enlightened. He bring the three prominent Zen lineage in Vietnam at that time, 13th century, is first is Vinatarusi, which was from the third patriarch, Zen Khan, the student. And Vinatarusi is considered equal to the fourth patriarch because he received the same enlightenment, but he wasn't given the rope transmission. So that's one lineage. The other lineage is the Rinzai lineage. And then the third lineage is Soto Zen lineage. So this Zen, Chuklam Zen tradition has the three combined lineage together because of the practice of Vietnam Zen at the time. And it flourished for 200 years. And then again, as I say, it's been revived back in the 20th century. I have a couple minutes here. I would like to invite all of us to consider for our practice. And we talk about, Soto Zen and Vietnamese Zen have many similarity in the essence of the practice, which is illuminating our mind, right? Illuminating our mind. And most of the Zen monastery that our Zen master created, he always named it with illumination. So like Vinh Chiếu, Vinh is complete, Chiếu is illumination. Thường Chiếu is where he stay right now. Thường is like always. And Chiếu is illumination. So we have many Chiếu. Chiếu is illumination. We have at least 10 monastery with the name Chiếu, illumination. Yeah. So that's interesting, I found. And later, he ran out of Chiếu. He ran out of illumination. So he find other teacher, other famous Zen master to name the monastery. But these illumination Chiếu name also were the name of Zen master, like famous Zen master in the past. So Vinh Chiếu, Thường Chiếu, Linh Chiếu, Quang Chiếu, these are Zen masters of the past as well. Yes. So I would like to invite you to think how you're going to illuminate your mind and your life. This is a share between the two practice, but we cannot just let other people tell you how, but how you find it yourself. Take it as your own practice. If you create that your own, you have a method, you adapt certain things, and this is what I'm going to do for my practice with intention setting and with the dedication, it will bring us further into our cultivation. So ask how each one of us can illuminating the light within us. That's the light, awakening light. How do we illuminate that? Even in your darkest day, right? I know we have a lot of things going on in our community right now. There's fear, there's stress, there's anxiety, there's divisions, there's loss of trust. But there's deep inside, there is this simmering light. And that light we can share with each other. We can bring warmth again. We can bring love again. We can bring compassion and faith and trust again. And I know that physically, symbolically, we've done that. I saw light being put out in the lake, right? We shining the light in those moments of darkness that bring us closer together. So that may be our koan practice, how to bring that light into our own life and into the world. And I'm asking myself as well. I'm doing that my own exploration as well. Yeah. So I would stop my talk here to allow for question and answer.
Sister Pearl, we maybe have time for one or two
Oh,
questions
okay,
before
sure.
we do announcements.
Yes. Yeah.
Sister Pearl, the Grand Master started, and he seemed to be alone. He seemed to be didn't have a tradition. He found a tradition. He founded a tradition, but he seemed to be doing it. He found Thich Nhat Hanh eventually, but were there no Vietnamese sitting at that time, or how did he? Was anybody doing seated meditation when your Grand Master started his practice alone?
Yeah, there was some sitting meditation, but it's very minimal, mostly Pure Land practice at the time in Vietnam culture at the time. Yeah. Yeah, so there's no true Zen master.
So there was just a real appetite for that in Vietnam, and that's what your Grand Master has really found.
Yeah, and it's kind of boom. It's like flourish, like a bomb, afterwards. It's like, wow, this working, and especially young people, and especially during the wartime, like people really seeking for something that is true and liberating. Yeah, during the time of suffering, not waiting after life, after death. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Thanks so much. This is so interesting. I have a related question, I think.
Yes.
I was really struck by the story of the king, the patriarch of Vietnamese tradition. And I was wondering how, at the time when your grandmaster was starting out, how well known was that history, I guess, in society in general, I guess?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, 13th century to 15th century was very flourish, the Zen tradition, and then it died off until the 18th and the 19th century when Vietnam was divided to north and south. That's when the war started and everything. And that's when people need something, Buddhism, to rely on. So both leaders of north and south invite Zen master from China to come, and most of them are Rinzai. And so all the lineage later, like even Pure Land, like the transmission of the 5 precepts, initiation, Buddhist initiation, on the certificate it says Rinzai Zen master. Yeah. So a lot of it's coming from Rinzai, but people don't really know what the actual practice was. It's more of like Christianity in general, kind of like that. But then when he researched, he did the biggest research, and he brought all of this into light.
Well, I just think it's really amazing. I mean, it's a really powerful story and tradition, and I never heard of it before. It's exciting to hear about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my grandmaster went to Japan one time, and he visited different monastery, and he said to his student, "I felt like these are so familiar. Maybe past life I've been here." That's what he said, and he because of that similarities, when in his mind when he established the Zen monastery, we have similar features, sharing the Soto Zen as well. Like in the kitchen, we do way to work in the kitchen menu instruction for the cook have similar ethics, work ethics. Yeah. To Pham. Yeah.
We should probably go.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you, everyone, friends, for attending.